Released on the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1987, Jaws was actually based on the fourth film in the series, Jaws: The Revenge. How well it followed its plot, I don't know, because I haven't watched any of the sequels to Spielberg's original masterwork. And from what I hear, I'm not missing much. The way the game is structured is pretty unconventional for a Nintendo title. The game involves navigating your ship from one port to the other to pay shells that you've earned to increase your diver's power levels with each lap. The higher your power level is, the easier it will be to fight Jaws. In order to earn these shells, you'll have random undersea encounters while traveling from port to port, much like wild Pokemon battles, fighting various undersea creatures who drop shells for you to pick up. They also drop crabs, which increase your swimming speed but are risky to go after since they make a beeline for the areas of the screen that enemies spawn from, and stars, which give you bonus points. You can earn an extra life at 30,000 points, but it's a pretty slow grind, so I don't consider it worth the risk to go after these. I usually ignore them. There are also bonus rounds that appear seemingly at random, where you drop bombs on synchronized jellyfish, earning additional shells depending on how many you hit. Your plane moves on its own, but I was too dumb to realize that you can actually slow it down with the D-pad, which would have made it easier to rack up more shells. The undersea encounters, though, are the core gameplay. Most of them just have the basic enemies: jellyfish, manta rays, and small sharks. Sharks always drop a shell, manta rays often do, and jellyfish hardly ever do. That's why it really sucks when you get encounters with nothing but hordes of jellyfish. They're very difficult to avoid, and there's very little rewards to reap from them. Everything kills you in one hit, by the way, unless you upgrade to the submarine, which can be found off the beaten path after you advance a few power levels. If you run into a massive fin, you'll have a Jaws encounter. This can happen at any point in the game. It's pretty interesting that you can actually encounter the final boss immediately after beginning playing, as I did here. That said, if you do, you'll be entirely too weak to fight him, so you're best off avoiding the fin if possible until you've advanced a few power levels. If you can't avoid the encounter, just swim away from him and kill other enemies for shells until the encounter is over. The amount of shells you need to advance levels increases each time you do so. Since there is, as far as I can tell, no in-game way to know how many you need, it can be kind of annoying to make it to a port without having enough. But once you do get powerful enough to take on Jaws, you'll have to wear him down with the same attacks you use on other enemies until his life bar is depleted, in order to begin this pseudo 3D QuickTime event where you get a few opportunities to stab him to death with the bow. I think that's what that part of the boat is called, whenever he breaches. This can be difficult if you have bad depth perception, and if you miss 3 times, he escapes, and you have to do it all over again. So, is what I described just now all you do? Yes, it's all you do. There is not a lot to this game, and if you know what you're doing, you can usually beat it very quickly. As in, like 20 minutes. This playthrough took me much longer than that, though, because I kept getting unlucky with the Jaws encounters and dying right away. If you encounter Jaws in shallow water, which is something you want to avoid at all costs, but that is not always possible, you end up with very little room to maneuver. It's practically a death sentence unless your D-pad rocking skills are on point. Even shallow water encounters without Jaws can be pretty brutal. Despite its short length and lack of gameplay variety, it controls well, the music is nice, and I find the overall structure of the game to be very creative. They really tried to do something unique here, even adding RPG elements that weren't very common for North American released console games at the time. I personally think the overly negative reputation it has attained over the years is undeserved. I could see where some players would find it dull and monotonous, but it at least functions correctly, which puts it above games that are truly horrible. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing, leaving a thumbs up, sharing, and ringing the bell so you don't miss any future videos. This has been a Leaky Faucet review. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.